So hello guys, this is the day fourth of our daily meets. So yeah, lots of members are not able to join the meet because they also have something to do, as always. But I hope they will be join in future meetings. So for today, interviewer of the meet, and from tomorrow, Amit will be the interviewer of the meet. So today we are not covering the new topics or new questions. We are just covering whatever we have covered so far yet. So we are just revising all the things again. So I'll ask five and five questions to both of you. So starting from Shivani. So Shivani, your question is, what is immediately invoked functions expression?
uh, Immediately invoke functions. Those functions will execute immediately after the declaration. We really don't need to call that function separately. This function usually helps to decrease our global pollutions and also prevent our code from variable glitch or confusions. So this is a immediately invoke function which automatically called after declaration.
Yeah, Shivani, you are correct. So basically, immediately invoked function runs immediately after defining. It prevents global scope pollution. Okay, now it's time for Amit. So Amit, your question is, what is different between global execution context and function execution context?
Yeah. So whenever a code execute it executes in some kind of scope, like for global execution, and we have functional execution. So the code that we write on a file is by default written on the global execution context, because everything we write right from the scratch, like right from the line one, is called to be in global context. But whenever we write any function, then from there, that point onwards, we are entering a function, and whatever we write, the variables, other functions, or any kind of operations that we write within a function, then that function has its own context, which is called function context. So these contexts are very different. Like whenever we declare a function or any variable within a function, the scope of it is within that function only. Like any other variable or any other function cannot access that function's variable or variable of functions. So from these, we can say that global context and functional context are very different. Global context has everything that we write, but functional context has everything that like what I write inside that function.
Yeah, Amit, I think you're stuck. Your network's not stable. Yeah, it's fine now. So
Okay.
wait a second. Yeah. So Amit, well answered. So I'll summarize your answer again. Basically, global execution context means the default context. Basically, it refers to window or globally your system, and the function execution context, as you already well defined the term, it created whenever a function is invoked. Okay, so this is the summarize of your entire answer. Now it's time for Shivani again. Shivani, your question is, what is the difference between call, apply, or bind?
Basically, I am not session.
Uh, Shivani, actually, there might be some network issue in your side. You can turn off your video.
Am I audible now?
Yeah, now you are audible.
I'm not able to recall it, but now I will surely revise this
I'll,
topic after this session.
okay, I'll change the question for you. So your next question is, what is prototype inheritance and how does it works?
Okay. prototype inheritance. This is a method which we can connect different objects by prototype chaining. Basically, prototype inheritance uh, help us to inherit any method, any function directly to the child object. So this makes easier to connect our prototype chain, we can say. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, you are correct. So basically, when we want to inherit properties and methods from other
Hmm.
object, so we use prototype chain. So basically, this entire process is called prototype inheritance. By uh, so yeah, sorry for interruption. So yeah, Shivani, you are correct. So basically, object inherit prototype properties and methods from other objects via their prototype chain. This is called prototype inheritance. Now it's time for Amit. So Amit, your question is, what is the difference between object dot create and what is difference between object dot create and using constructor function?
Okay. So object.create is a method through which we can actually create objects only. But what is speciality is that we can actually make those prototypical chains. So let's suppose we have an object A and object from an object A, we want to create an object B. So when we do object.a and then use that create method, it creates an object, and that object B has a prototype chain linked to the object A. So through which we can say that object B has a prototype chain of object to object A. Now object B can access all the properties and methods which are there in object A. So we can say that now object B has linked to object A. So in a nutshell, object dot create is a method in object through which we can create objects only. But that object will be linked to the prototype of whatever object we have used initially. So yeah.
Okay, yeah, you are absolutely correct. Now it's time for Shivani again. So Shivani, your question is, what do you mean by uh, what do you mean by an instance of constructor function? An instance of constructor function.
Okay. Constructor function help us to create multiple objects with similar frameworks. So we used to create multiple objects by using a keyword new. So these new objects which are you created with the help of this keyword, these are known the instance of that constructor function.
Yeah, you are absolutely correct. Basically, an object created using a constructor function. Basically, it inherit properties and methods from its parent of like constructor function. So this is called new instance of object. Now it's time for Amit. So Amit, your question is, what is the difference between proto and prototype?
Okay, the difference between proto and prototype. First of all, proto is a property in object. It is a by default property which can be found in any object. It is a hidden property of an object, and that proto property is basically used for making those prototypical chains. So, and on the other hand, a prototype. A prototype is basically can be called a mold through which a new object can be made. So, for example, now let's suppose we have a object A which has a proto property hidden and object B. Now, we need to make the prototype chain. So here, what we would do is we would make a assignment. So the prototype object B proto property of object B can be assigned to the prototype property of object A. So by making this link, we can actually make the prototype chain. Now the object B can access all the properties and methods of object A, because the proto and proto property of prototype of property of A has been linked to the proto property of B. So yeah, proto is a hidden property of in any object, and prototype is a prototype can be called a mode. So when we connect both these properties of two objects, we can make the prototype chain.
Okay. Said. So I'll summarize your answer. So basically, proto refers to an object's prototype, and prototype is a property of constructor function used to create objects. Okay, so now it's time for Shivani. Shivani, your question is, uh, what is the difference between fs.read file and fs.create read stream?
fs.read file help us to read the whole file in a one go. On the other hand, fs.read stream is help us to read a file which is we can say a file which have a lots of data in small parts, so that it don't um, it's don't um, create any issue on the basis of our memory storage. So basically difference is that first one is read the whole file in one go, the other one read it into parts.
Okay, basically fs.read file reads entire file into memory in one go, and fs.create read stream is basically read files in chunks. It is better to use for large files.
Hmm.
Okay, so yeah, I think it's all for today. Like we will meet you guys tomorrow with new sets of question. I hope rest of the members also will join us from tomorrow. And till then, keep keep healthy, keep studying. Thank you so much, guys.